Tristan Schulze, thank you very much for being with us in this interview super late, so we appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Where were you born and how did your early life in Germany shape your path as a musician and artist?
I was born in Annaberg-Buchholz, which is in Saxony in Erzgebirge. And funnily enough, the only other guy I know who was born there is Adam Ries. Adam Ries was a German mathematician. And, we Germans say, 2 times 2 is 4 because of him. So we were born in the same place. Or at least he lived there, I don't know. So, and my parents moved to Karl-Marx-Stadt, now Chemnitz. And then I was lucky enough to have piano lessons at the age of 5 already. And then, so became a musician a little later. But I already had concerts at the age of 5. That was, for me, it was very interesting. My piano teacher, she said, kids need to perform. And so she organized this concerts for school kids. So I would not even be in school, and we would all sit on stage the whole time and then perform and play for these other kids. It was quite torture, but it made me feel at home on stage. So
you are very familiarized with this industry since a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And from there, how did you end up in Vienna?
Well, when the war came down, I was actually working as a cellist in an orchestra in Dresden, and I decided I need to get out. And then I went to India for 6 months, had a very interesting time there. And then I came back and I thought I was going to become an Indian classical musician because I had, sitar and tabla lessons there and everything. That didn't work out. And then I was a little depressed, and then I decided to go to Vienna to try to study conducting, and I got in, and I studied conducting for 2 years and then stopped, and then had a trio with 2 fantastic violinists and traveled around the whole of the world and met Hans Zimmer and Ennio Morricone and all these guys, and so that was very nice. So this is kind of like, a bit of, what do you call it? Can't think of it. Just, running around, doing a lot of traveling and playing concerts. And then that stopped, and then it got more into composing, and composing happened already during trilogy because writing for us. And then other people came and said, can't you write a piece for us, and things like this. And then people from the Vienna Philharmonic came and other people. So I started writing more and more. And then I liked this also because of the advantage of, if you're a composer, you can travel, but you don't have to. As a musician, you can't always just play in the same time unless you have a job in the orchestra and the orchestra is based here. That's a different thing. But if you, a chamber musician as we were, then you just have to go around and travel. So it was very nice to stay in Vienna and, have breakfast with my wife and everything. So it's really nice.
Privilege, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
We had the opportunity to see you in action, as we said, as a musician, as a conductor, also as a composer, and now as a plastic artist. Where do you feel more comfortable with?
Well, if someone asks me the question, like in a concert, like where I'm conducting different pieces, which piece do you like most? I would always say the one that I'm doing now. And that has to be true. So, if I'm getting into the sculpture thing, I for completely lose time. I'm really the happiest man on earth. If I conduct, that's that's really great. But it's a lot of preparation work, and you're just together with a lot of people, and you're trying to make something happen, and it's a totally different set of skills you need. But I think it's similar in terms of that you're striving for something that hasn't been seen or heard yet. It's just kind of like try to get something out of the universe or whatever you want to call it, not to get out, but just to make it visible. Basically, it's always there. But I mean, for us to, connect with higher sources.
Amazing. And how different is everything? No? How different is to be a plastic artist? How different is to be a conductor? How different is to be a musician?
Yeah, but I mean, plastic artist, musician, writer, that's architect is all the same thing. I mean, what is different is if you're a banker, for example. Or if you're in immobilian deals or whatever, that's really different. So I find art is kind of like all similar.
I think your modesty indicates how big you are. A few days ago, we had the honor to see you conducting the Carmina Burana. Tell us what happened there.
Well, it was rather a lot of people on stage. 250 altogether, and 50 of them children or young adults. And it was massive. And what it's an amateur orchestra, and it was the first time we played in a big hall, and it was a huge financial risk because we didn't know whether we're going to sell the tickets, and it was sold out. And that just made everybody stay. That was really cool, and that was sold out a week before. So it was kind of really, okay, no, people want to see this, and people were in there and really appreciated it. There's a violinist who plays in a professional orchestra. She helps us once in a while. She's a fantastic violinist. And she was in there too, and she wrote me afterwards. A few times I forgot it's an amateur orchestra, which is the biggest compliment you can get. It was really nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was the 40th anniversary, no?
Yes, it was the 40th anniversary of the orchestra, and it was in Concerthaus in the huge and beautiful and prestigious hall. So really nice.
Fantastic. What do we have here?
This sculpture is called times tables because of the English expression of how you calculate. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and so on. In German, it's called das kleine Einmaleins. And the basic shape is a square. If you can see it basically from the bottom, and it's 11 in each directions. 11 because I wanted to have the number 99 in there, and I will explain this later how this works. So basically, it's pretty simple. So this is kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on, right? In the next line, it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. In the next, it would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. So if you want to multiply it, you can use it basically to multiplicate. So you choose 5, and then you go in this direction, and you kind of go like 5 times 4, and you hit 20, right? And the interesting thing is that they cross these paths. And so in the diagonal line, you would have these square numbers like 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and so on. And one thing that struck me when I was doing it was that if you add up the odd numbers, you get this line of square numbers. So 1 times 3 is 4, times 5 is 9, times 7 is 16, times 9 is 25, and so on. And you see this actually in this whole structure everywhere. For example, if you take a square number like, for example, 36, yeah, and then you go either direction, then the number next to it is 35, so it's 1 less, yeah. Then the next number is 32, which is 3 less. The next number is 27, which is 5 less, and the next number is 20, which is 7 less, and so on. So you see this structure basically in the whole thing. And so what I found so fascinating is that it shows actually how mathematics works. We have all learned this in school, we all know it by memory, but we haven't been able to basically look at what it looks like. And so the shape actually, the shape is developed by, like, each number represents the amount of coins which is underneath. So, and how to calculate this is obviously 1, yeah? And then if you take this little square from here, from 1 to 4, right? Then you have in this line, you have 2 and 4 and 2, which together makes 8. So, but 8 is basically 2 to the power of 3. So it's 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, right? So that 1 plus basically 8 makes number 9. Isn't that great? And this is just basically, this is all there in this whole system. And that's basically how you can also calculate the whole thing. And I just thought it looked very beautiful.
I couldn't agree more. How did you come?
Oh, well, I just had loads of coins at home. And then I started, putting them together on the kitchen table. And the interesting thing was that I thought, oh, okay, as I kind of wanted to know how many coins I need and all this kind of stuff in order to build this. And then I also realized that this is actually cheating, because the coins are this wide, but they're actually only this high. So to really build it, it would actually have to be cubes, right? Which have all the same direction in the same, but then that would mean basically if you have kind of this size as a square, it would be already this high from the floor, right? So it's huge in the dimensions. So, but it would be kind of even more dynamic than this is now, and I'm sure I will do this at some point. But that was just that was the prototype. That's the first thing I built.
We can only congratulate you.
It was a lot of fun, actually. It was really a lot of fun to do it, and I'm really happy and grateful that it can be here, and that my dear friend Fabian jumped on it and said, "That looks great. Let's have it."
Fantastic. How was the reaction of the people so far during the night about your works?
I mean, for me, the most beautiful thing is that I mean, for me, it's similar like how I approach music. I kind of let it develop itself. This is not a basic idea behind it. It was much more like, oh, this curiosity of, okay, what does it look like? And so math presents itself. This is, I just kind of found a form of doing this. But, the idea is not mine. The idea is, far greater than what I could come up with. And so people react to this in a way that they're also kind of curious, like kids. And for me, the most amazing thing was actually there were children around, and they were all kind of, the grandchildren, they want to touch this, and they're so curious about this whole thing. And I think it's just so beautiful that they're attracted by something which we consider art as well. So they just they feel drawn to it, which I think is really, really beautiful.
You would agree with us that you were the sensation of this exhibition?
I don't know. That's for you to decide. Seriously. I mean, this is, it's the first time I'm exhibiting something, and for me, this is just really special. So this is the 5 Platonic bodies. These bodies were first described by Plato, as you would guess. And the interesting thing is that he also gave descriptions for 4 of them that they're relating to the old Greek elements. And those 4 are the white one, which is the cube, which also stands for matter. The blue one, which is the icosahedron, so it has 20. It consists of 20 triangular surfaces, and this signifies the element of water. And there's the red one, which is the element of fire, which is the tetrahedron. And then there's the magenta one, which is the octahedron, which signifies the element of air or ether. He does not talk about the dodecahedron, at least I haven't found anything. So that gives us time and space for speculation. What I wanted to do, because I got really interested in these bodies, and I wanted to know how they relate to each other. Also, because the elements, relate to each other, and I mean, water and fire. They have also in Chinese traditional philosophy and medicine, for example, they talk about water and fire, that they are kind of opposing powers. But I mean, fire, warms water, and water kills fire, but also fire lets the water evaporate and things like this. And what I find personally really, really interesting is just an idea that came to my mind recently when there was a storm, and I saw all this water coming down from the sky, and me realizing that before it was up there. Because we think of okay, water, this is the sea and, the ocean and everything. But no, I mean, we could not breathe. We could not exist if there wasn't water in the air the whole time. And it's just, I mean, but it just goes up really high. And the amount of water that can be held there is just unbelievable, isn't it? And, it needs the fire element, the sun, to kind of draw it out of the sea and just keep it in the clouds. So it's all this kind of perfect mechanism, and I find this just so beautiful to watch in nature, and then to find the symbols that actually kind of stand for it and are kind of described as and such. So
it's magnificent to see how a very complex thing can be fully summarized in such a small piece, but very complex one. No?
What I also find very, very interesting about this thing that puzzled me myself, is the dodecahedron, the yellow one, and the blue one, the icosahedron, are built out of the same amount of equal length pieces. Can you believe this? It's kind of like this 30 pieces of blue and 30 pieces of yellow, and they're the exact same length. And this is this huge shape, and the other one is the shape in between. It's crazy, isn't it?
I think our audience cannot understand, me neither, how all of this is possible, no?
Yeah, and how this works, and that nature is built basically on this structure. And I mean, thanks to Platon, we have at least the chance to kind of study it and look at it and kind of be in awe.
Simply spectacular. Really good. Congratulations again.
Oh, thank you.
So, Tristan, this is the third masterpiece we have here. What is it about?
That one is called What Is That? Please Do Touch It. Why do touch it? Because I sanded it up to 280 grain, so it's really smooth. So it's really, really nice to touch. This is one of the reasons. And also it feels really nice in the hands. It's spruce. Now, what is this shape? If you look at this shape, it does not look familiar, not to me. But you can build kind of loads of interesting things, and you think, what is this? I mean, what is this shape? And then you take it into your hands, and then you kind of go like this and like this, and then eventually you kind of go like this. And at some point, it's a cube. Look at this. And this is actually how I found it, because what I wanted to know, and that I found really, really, really difficult to imagine, is with all these bodies, they can have three different angles how you can display them. You can either put them on the side, on the surface, or you can put them on the edge, or you can put them, no, what's that called? That's called, yeah, it would be the edge. Oh, and what is this? Is the point or whatever. I can't really.
No, but I know.
I think this is the edge, and this is the, I can't remember what it's called in English. But so this is basically, this is the three different forms of how you can display it, like this, or like this. And I found this really, really difficult to imagine in my head, what the cube basically on the top looks like, on the tip. And if you now slice it exactly in the middle, that's what you get. That's the shape. And all the other shapes look, if we know what a cube looks like, if you can slice it like this or like this is really easy, probably because we think so in these 3 dimensions, and we are used to these rooms that have, straight lines. They're kind of vertical and they're horizontal. But if something is like this, it's kind of like, oh, what is this? So, and I really like this shape. So that's it.
Chapeau. Bravo. You never cease to surprise us and to impress us, no? But how does it feel to present your visual works here at Ballgasse 6 in the Toolip Art Gallery for first time? Because we saw you in action as a musician and composer, but never as a plastic artist here at the gallery. How do you feel about it?
I have the feeling it's always a two-way thing. As a musician, as a composer, you can sit at home and compose. Nobody will ever know about it. If you want this to be heard, you need to find musicians who will play this, and then you get in contact with these musicians. If you perform as a musician, you need an audience. Otherwise, you do it at your place at home. That's not half as interesting. Now, if you come up with things like this, you need a gallery that is ready to show it. And the first time I walked in here, it was just so beautiful to meet you and speak to you and feel that we share the same ideas, the same beliefs, and that we get excited by the same thing. So it was just like a really mutual feeling of we like each other. And that's why I'm really, really grateful. I would not have done this without you. That's really, really, really clear. So thank you.
Thank you for the compliments. But I need to highlight that you are like, there are people who are a magnet for problems, and you are a magnet only for positive and good things. You attract this, and correct me if I'm wrong, you deal with dozens, even hundreds of people a week. You are an easygoing person. You make it easy.
No,
You are not a complex person. You are here at the top, but you make it easy. People adore you. How people think about Tristan Schulze. Everybody talk well about Tristan Schulze. And you make it happen. You make it easy. This is a
well, it's relatively easy to do this when you're seen. And of course, that's a huge privilege to be seen, to find people who are willing to see you. And the belief, that's the same for everybody. What's the difference? I mean, yes, some people may be harder to be seen, but I mean, in the end, I mean, what difference is there between all of us?
again, how big you are, and we see it clearly because of your modesty. It's never changed. Do not change it. And the last question is, how was the opening night? If there is any moment that stood out for you.
It was so beautiful to be with all these artists. And I mean, these artists are really, really different from musicians. I noticed this when we were playing Requiem, yeah? And the other musicians were kind of like behind there, kind of watching the visual artists do their thing. They were like, whoa, it's going there. They're so different, yeah? Because, yeah, I mean, musicians consider themselves rather normal, right? I don't know, but it felt really, really nice to be surrounded by all these people striving for the best, you know, and then they come from all these different places and they're all open and they all kind of are interested in what are you doing, you know, and then it was just like a mutual feeling of like, it's happening here. So thank you to Tulip. This is really, really good.
Thank you to Tristan Schulze for making it happen. And the last, we were fascinated to see you live, synchronizing that well with me. We didn't know each other. It was fascinating. How was it possible?
Well, she is obviously a good musician, right? And not just a good musician in terms of that she can play the instrument, she's also, you know, she's flexible and she will understand. And there's a certain set of pieces that someone at this level may know. So we spoke about this. She says, yes, I do have it here. And then it was just obvious what to do. And I know how these pieces go, so it's easy to kind of do something on the piano for me.
For you. It doesn't mean that there is a lot of merit here.
No, it's just like as a composer, again, that's what I'm training the whole time, to hear clearly what I hear. Because I believe that actually every person hears music in their head. And the difference is just whether you are able to recreate this. If you can see, okay, that's this and that's this, and sort of be certain this is C major, what you're hearing. And if you train this for, I'm an old man, you know, I mean, for a very long time, then, you know, then it flows relatively easy. But I'm sure that's the same with any visual artist, because you need to train not just the physics of kind of how to hold the brush, and also you need to be able to see what you want to have on canvas. It's huge. And you know, and I think everybody who does something for their life, you know, if you do it honestly, then something good will come out of it.
God bless you, Tristan Schulze. And for many more to come. Please.
Looking forward.